Good afternoon, YouTube viewers and subscribers. First I want to apologize to everyone because I think maybe some of you at least may have been interested in seeing me reassemble this FT-120 Gemini engine, and for the most part I haven't reassembled at all. I did get some bearings from a very good friend, Mr. H. I have bearings on order, but he had a set, most of a set, that he went ahead and sent to me anyway. So let me just show you what I've done, and I pretty much didn't capture it on camera for numerous reasons because doing bearings is really just not that easy to find or easy to film on camera. But anyway, I've got this cam bearing in the back case. Now in the course of cleaning this engine, this placard came off. So what I've done is I cleaned that up real well with some alcohol, both sides of that. Did a little sandpaper on there, and I epoxied it back on with some 5-minute epoxy. Hopefully that'll hold. So looks like there's a little garbage in there. This thing is all oiled up. That bearing is in. That's the one that this timing wheel meshes with. The crankcase, the main crankcase, that's the part where I was thinking I was going to show you guys what I was doing with this, but then I ended up kind of just looking at it and getting involved in it and just doing it. I am missing this bearing, so really I can't go any further with this reassembly until that bearing comes in. Unfortunately, that may not be until Monday. But Mr. H provided me with the rear bearing here, front bearing, and then the midline or the front crankshaft bearing. So that was pretty straightforward. I put the front one in, then I put this one in. While it was still hot, I dropped the crankshaft in, and this bearing was the last one that went in. So the crankshaft was in here without this bearing, and I just heated this thing up, and because this thing is so tall, I couldn't really tall this way. I couldn't get it in my arbor press and had the awl still come down and press on that because the socket I had that fit this thing on the outer edges to press on it was just a little bit too tall, and I just didn't have enough space. So what I ended up doing was just heating this area up. I just put this bearing in place, used that socket, put this thing on a piece of wood, and with a rubber mallet I just struck it and it just dropped right in. I thought I did shoot some video of this crankshaft moving before I put the connecting rods on. I wasn't really planning on putting the connecting rods on at this point, but I did. I put them on because I was curious and kind of bored, you know, didn't have the other bearing to put in here, so I just was like, well, the hell with it, let me try and fit these. It was not super hard, but you know, it's one of those things where it took me a few minutes and I fumbled around a few times, so it would have been kind of challenging to get that on video anyway. The most important thing is that the lettering OS faces the front of the engine, and the connecting rod pieces are matched. Say they're like this, they are matched, like, and I think this front one here has a single ridge on the rod and then on the bottom rod, and then this other one here has 2 ridges, and they need to line up. So anyway, I went ahead and installed those. I figured that wasn't a big deal to go ahead and put those on. I still have room to drop this bearing in here. I've got a nice long socket that I can push that down. But basically it's going to kind of look like this type of deal here when that bearing comes in. So what you will get to see is putting the pistons on, bolting the cylinders on, and all that kind of stuff. It's not super exciting, and I'll probably just speed up the video. But anyway, this engine's coming back into shape now. It's looking really nice. One of the things I noticed also was there's a thrust washer that goes back here that was missing on this engine when I got it, and I noticed it when I disassembled it, and it just wasn't there. So I had to go to the hardware store and find a metric equivalent, sort of equivalent. The measurements of that bearing were, or that washer, were 14 by 10 by 1 millimeter. Well, I managed to get like a 21 or a 20 outside diameter, like a 10.5 ID, and then the thing was like 2 millimeters thick, so I had to put it in vice grips and just grind the shit out of it so that it would butt up against, so the Woodruff key would butt up against it. So I did that. So I had to make my own little thrust washer there. And other than that, this thing is really just waiting for this one bearing to come in, which, like I said, probably will be Monday, and I can finish putting this engine together. But I thought I'd give you a shot here, or a look at what I've got done so far. I know last time I showed this bearing, I think it looked really dry and nasty. Well, I oiled it up real good, cleaned it up, wiped it down, so it looks brand new. So this engine's coming along. Hopefully I can just go ahead and pull this thing right back out. Yeah, so this is it's coming along, and it should be ready to go here soon. But I thought I'd share those items with you.